my video go?
But what's that got to do with you?
Oh, you were trying to block our Indiegogo campaign video for our new YouTube channel.
Yeah, we viral, we spin. 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 We viral, we spin.
Most of the crew support the cast members who are speaking out and trying to improve the work conditions at Dhar Mann Studio. In no way do any of us want the studio to shut down or not be prosperous, but we want the studio to answer for the mistakes they've made and show improvement in changing their way. We have decided to speak out along with the cast because we too have had very similar concerns as our fellow cast members. We are willing to risk being fired or not being paid or even possibly being sued because we believe that a studio that focuses largely on working with children should absolutely hold themselves accountable. We, as crew members, have given the studio verbal and written communications on all of the concerns we have had and all of the changes we have had. If anyone from the studio management says they were unaware of the concerns we are voicing, it is simply a lie, and it is simply them ignoring it. The reason we are anonymous is because many of us are still paying our bills through the job, which we do appreciate, but we want this company to be safer and more respectful. Those of us who no longer work at the company also want the company to change and hold themselves accountable for the improper practices they have used. The film industry is a very complicated and expensive industry to operate in. However, the things that are set in place on set are there, from past tragedies that have happened to crew members, talent, and even children. Our industry can be very safe. It can also be very dangerous. It's time for the studio to step up, listen to what everyone is saying, and change the on-set safety and change the company's culture to be more positive and healthy. I am anonymous today because I am either in the group who is still working at the studio, or I am contractually not able to speak publicly against the studio. In my time at the studio, working conditions have probably been the most unprofessional, disorganized, and unsafe conditions I've experienced on set. Major concerns include turnaround times between shoots were sometimes under 8 hours. People were in car accidents or almost in car accidents because they were driving extremely fatigued and tired. Sometimes wrap times would go past midnight and we would have call times the very next day in the morning. Safety issues at the studio certainly include the vehicles, prop and crew vehicles. On multiple occasions, myself and others went to studio management to tell them that the vehicles would have check engine light warnings, low tire pressure warnings, or we would physically experience issues with the steering, brakes, or hear issues with the engine. Sometimes these issues were addressed, however, they were never addressed in a timely manner, and many of the issues went unfixed. The company management always acted surprised and shocked when we would tell them, saying that they never knew about the issues, even though we had verbally communicated issues with them and written it in our reports to them. Other issues we faced at the studio were specifically in times of great heat and cold. We were shooting in warehouses not built for production, so they were not insulated in any way and did not have proper working heat. Now, the studio would attempt to fix this by bringing in portable fans, but they did not blow any cold air, and they only provided 2 fans for 3 buildings and 5 crews. Oftentimes, we would have kids with us on set. The fans were not able to cool off our crew or our cast, and often it was a struggle to have a steady supply of water stocked in the studio. When I first started there, the company would provide water bottles. However, they would often run out and sometimes take days to order new water. After several months, they installed water coolers, which needed to be filled by replaceable jugs. These also would frequently run out, and it would take days for new water jugs to be delivered and installed in the water filters. Major safety concerns we experienced are with our sets. Dhar Mann Studios hired a company to build sets that generally builds temporary sets for concerts or short shoots. However, these were permanent standing sets that were often not secured, they were wobbly, and they often had exposed nails sticking through the wood. They were also not legally built to code inside of the building. They didn't allow for fire lanes. They often blocked exit doors. We even had a fire marshal come through and force us to seal off many of the sets so that no one could pass because they were so unsafe. Employees in the building were also not given proper access to doors within the warehouses, meaning if there was a fire, some of the crew members who were not given keys would not be able to move from office areas to stage areas. The fire marshal also informed us that it was not legal to have locked doors in the middle of the building. However, these doors would still remain locked. The reason given was to prevent the cast from moving around the building without us knowing where they are at all times. Dhar Mann Studios has put on their social media that they have 3 different ways to leave a suggestion. That I agree with. However, what I don't agree with is the fact that management would not listen to suggestions, or frequently they would agree with your suggestion and guarantee that they would fix it. This rarely happened. Even after contacting those management personnel multiple times to get an issue resolved, they would often just try and put you off or prolong the process of getting the issue fixed. The company has a culture of listen to the management and do your job. Regardless of how they advertise themselves, they are not employee oriented and they do not want suggestions from their cast or crew. One of the most shady dealings at Dhar Mann is the way we all communicate. We use an app where there are group chats. There were dozens and dozens and dozens of threads on these chats, which meant information frequently got lost, or if you ever caught them in a lie, they would try and reference a chat that you conveniently weren't added to or weren't in. At Dhar Mann Studios, people are fired or quote-unquote laid off in a very sporadic fashion. Sometimes groups of people, sometimes an individual person, always without any type of warning. They would always use the chats when someone was going to be fired or laid off. The way they would do it is they would remove the individual from every chat that they are actively in. They would do this long before they would speak to that individual and tell them what was going on. This was completely unprofessional and embarrassing to the individual, as everybody in the chats company-wide could see the person's name being removed. After being removed, you'd receive a very impersonal private message, never speaking to anybody in person, either informing you you've been fired or let go. The company dynamic was extremely tough, and it felt like it was being used as a scare tactic. Many people would joke if they did something wrong or accidentally did something the incorrect way that they would be removed from the chat. It was not a work culture that felt comfortable, inviting, or that you had a job that was going to last more than just a few days.
Own channel now that we won't be associated with you anymore, and neither will have your subscribers, because we're not going to be in your videos anymore. And that was the reason that they were watching them in the first place, which coincidentally is the entire reason why we requested the meeting with you, to request more monies. But no, my name is Evil Man. You get no monies here. If you don't work for me, you get no monies there. You get no monies anywhere. I get all the monies, go away. But hey, fam, really? The reason I'm angry is because you called me out when I left a comment on Paris Hilton's new baby photo to try and get clout. And everyone said pay your actors. You! I get the money!